Young man was shocked to find that the two wives the government had just given him seemed extraordinary. He was poor and had nothing, yet his wives were so beautiful. It turned out his sixth sense was incredibly accurate. The two girls in front of him were definitely not ones he could mess with. The first wife was a general commanding 400,000 troops. The second wife was the leader of the largest assassination organization in the land. The emperor was deeply afraid of this power growing stronger, which led to a constant state of war between the two forces. However, since their strength was evenly matched, during their last battle, both were severely injured and fainted. This allowed the officers delivering the wives to take advantage of the situation. They were struggling to fill two spots, so they put the unconscious women in sacks and sent them to the young man's home. Seeing this, the young man initially wanted to refuse. He had just crossed over from the 21st century and couldn't even afford a proper meal. What's more, with the women wrapped in sacks, he couldn't even see their faces clearly. He was worried that if they were ugly, he'd be at a big disadvantage. But the officer said it was the law and he couldn't refuse. So, the young man brought the two wives into his house like a blind box. When his sister saw their faces, she exclaimed that he had struck gold. However, after a quick look, the young man told his sister to throw them out. His sister was puzzled. Then the young man pointed out their appearance and figures. These were clearly not ordinary women. Their backgrounds were powerful, and if anyone pursued it, he could end up in serious trouble. But just as his sister was about to throw them out, the two women suddenly woke up from their unconsciousness. It took them a moment to realize they were surrounded by enemies. Just as they tried to take action, they realized they were badly injured. At this point, the young man explained everything to them. When they remained silent, he told them that the door was open and they could leave at any time. But what he didn't expect was, the two women decided to pretend to have amnesia to balance each other out. This also gave them a chance to heal and figure out how to defeat each other. The young man thought his sincerity had moved them, but just as he was about to sleep, the two sisters kicked him unconscious. Poor guy, he spent his wedding night sleeping on the floor. The next morning, he was moved to the bed. They pretended to be loving wives, but since they were both martial arts experts, their cooking skills were like a large-scale fire hazard. The young man looked at the dark, burnt food and called it inedible, yet the wives insisted it was delicious. One by one, they started to try it. This made the young man let his guard down. Without any doubt, he ate the hard-to-swallow food. In the end, he spat it all out. Life went on like this, full of laughter. But soon, the young man realized the difficulty of feeding four mouths. It was time to bring modern solutions into the ancient world. However, the two wives had no idea what he was working on, until one day, the village chief called all the young men together, and, in front of everyone, announced a bear hunting mission. He claimed that whoever killed the bear terrorizing the village would become the next village chief. After hearing this, the young man knew his crossbow would come in handy. So, he followed the villagers up the mountain to hunt the bear. To their surprise, when the 700-800-pound beast appeared, the villagers almost peed themselves. They all ran away, leaving the young man behind. When the two wives heard that the young man was likely dead, they couldn't help but feel a bit of sadness. This meant they would return to their old, violent lives. The sister cried and said she wanted to save her brother, but the wives advised her not to go and risk her life. Just then, the young man appeared with the bear he had hunted, crossbow in hand.